Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Kyle Henderson, BamaInsider.com. Happy New Year. Happy to be back in Tuscaloosa. My goodness, that was a long time away from home. I was actually away from, believe it or not, December 17th. I went to New Mexico to go visit my family. And yes, thank you for the thoughts and prayers. My father is doing much better. So thank you for keeping our family in your prayers. And everything's going well. You know, we are entering the new year with Alabama defeating Michigan. I want to talk about the Citrus Bowl. I want to talk about some other items as we head on into the new year. And of course, we are geared towards January 6th as that's decision day for Tua Tagovailoa. And I don't know if you guys follow me, Rivals_Kyle, but I've been hearing those same rumblings that you probably seen out on social media that Tua Tagovailoa looks very promising, that he's going to be returning for the 2020 season. We'll dive into that a little bit on this podcast, but we're going to talk about the Citrus Bowl, break it down, kind of provide some observations. I know it's a couple days after, but let's do it right. I wanted to kind of let everything else soak in and kind of go into it. So, as you know, Alabama defeated Michigan 35-16. I figured that Alabama would be a 2-touchdown favorite in that game, or that they'd win by at least 2 touchdowns. Now, what I didn't expect was Michigan to really control the tempo in that first half. Now, besides Alabama scoring on an 85-yard touchdown from Mac Jones to Jerry Jeudy, and that was a beautiful throw by Mac Jones, and an incredible after-the-catch movement by Jerry Jeudy. We'll talk about who increased their draft stocks in just a minute, but Alabama goes up 7-0, literally the first play that Alabama had the football. And then Michigan, they really had the time of possession on lock, right? I mean, they did a great job utilizing their run game. Alabama had a tough time getting Michigan off the field. And I thought it was interesting to see Josh Gaddis, the former wide receiver coach here at Alabama, go up against his peer, Pete Golding, right? Because now he's a new OC at Michigan. What did he do with the first 2 plays of Michigan's opening drive? He went directly at Josh Jobe, because I feel that he knows, and that everybody knows, that Josh Jobe is a vulnerability for Alabama's secondary. Now, in my opinion, I think if Michigan had a better quarterback than Shea Patterson, Josh Jobe and Alabama's defense would have been in a lot of trouble, because Josh Jobe still, in my opinion, still has struggles covering quality wide receivers. And that's why Nick Saban went after Ronald Williams. That's a junior college corner, because I think he knows that when these junior college guys come in, they're coming in to start. And we didn't see much of Jalen Armour-Davis, but the corner position needs to improve. I thought Patrick Surtain did a good job. I like his length. He's got those long arms. He's a big corner. Made a good play on Saturday defending or batting a ball away that was in the end zone. But I think if Michigan had a better quarterback, I think Alabama would have been in trouble. So let's note that going forward, and I think that's an area that Alabama needs to improve on, is the corner positions. Now, I do think that Trayvon Diggs should have played in this game. I thought a lot of these other guys who did play, now there was only 2 that didn't play in the bowl game, but I think Trayvon Diggs is one of them that needed to play in this bowl game to increase his draft stock. I'm curious to see where his draft grade is. Is it a second round? Is he a third round type guy? I don't think Terrell Lewis needed to play in this game. I think he's just a freak. I think once he gets to NFL Combine and they see his intangibles, 6'5", 250 pounds, his speed, I'd like to see him get to the quarterback a little bit more. But I think there was, like I'm saying, I think his overall intangibles and his size he didn't need to play anymore. I'm glad these other guys did play. Let's continue to talk about this game before we talk about draft stocks. So Michigan actually goes up 13-7 after hitting a 42-yard field goal. They hit a 36-yard field goal. Then Alabama, they got that. It was a 4th down that Alabama faced. It was a 3rd down rather that Alabama faced, and Mac Jones gets planted into the ground, which keeps the drive going, and then Najee Harris scores to make it 14-13. Thought Najee Harris played fantastic. And then Michigan goes right down the field and kicks a 57-yard field goal. Can you believe that? No one else is going to hit a field goal that long against Alabama, right? I mean, 57 yards. I think it tied a school record, right? I mean, Alabama has trouble hitting field goals, and everybody that plays Alabama can knock them down, right? I think it's 20 in a row or something crazy like that. Alabama will go up 21-16 after Devontae Smith caught a beautiful pass from Mac Jones. I think Devontae Smith had to kind of go under the defender. It was a nice just good body control from Devontae Smith. I mean, these wide receivers are something else. I'm going to miss watching these guys, but I do think that Devontae Smith is one of those guys that's going to be returning. Him and Henry Ruggs probably. At least that's what I've been hearing, right? I'm kind of hearing things, and then if you place the tea leaves together, right, you can kind of make out which guys are coming back and which guys are leaving. Miller Forristall, it was great to see him back. He caught a touchdown pass to make it 28-16. Remember, he had that injury to the voice box, such a weird injury that he suffered during the season. He'll be back for next season as well, which will be great for Alabama because he's a veteran tight end. He's a veteran on this team. I think he's a guy who could potentially be even a team captain. I mean, guys like Miller Forristall, a super sharp individual. And then Najee Harris punches it in off a 12-play, 75-yard drive. Michigan said it was a slap to the face. I don't know. You got to stop. You got to stop him. And Alabama's not going to, they wanted to end the season right. That's what they talked about, getting back to that Bama standard. And when we look at the overall statistics of this game, I mean, they really did get back to the Bama standard. Think about this. Mac Jones, 1625, 327 yards passing. It's almost like a quiet day of 300 yards, right? 3 touchdowns, wasn't sacked, kept him clean. Jerry Jeudy, the game's MVP, 6 receptions, 204 yards, 1 touchdown. Just a beautiful performance. And I think when you look at guys who increase their draft grade, Jerry Jeudy's certainly that guy. Didn't have to play. I think he's a, pick 1 through 10 anyways. But what he did against Michigan in the Citrus Bowl in front of 14 million people that watched that game, I think he's a top 5 guy. I mean, his speed is incredible. His route running, incredible. His work ethic, incredible. So credit Jerry Jeudy for having a monster game coming out. And I tweeted this out. Young guns, if you're out there trying to figure out who to emulate your game after, go after Jerry Jeudy. Humble, works hard, is an elite athlete, is a team first guy. Really delighted to see Jerry Jeudy walk away with those MVP honors. Najee Harris, 140 yards, right? 24 carries, 2 touchdowns. And when we talk about guys who certainly increased their draft stock, Najee Harris is the prime example. This is another guy who I think was probably a second round guy, right? Coming in if he didn't play in the bowl game. Now I think you got to think he's one of the top backs off the draft board. I'd be curious to see updated mock drafts and where they have Najee Harris because 6'2", 230 pounds, can catch the football out of the backfield, has, that ability to drive through defenders, can leap over defenders. He's a super intelligent individual. I think when GMs, scouts really start to dive in and talk to Najee Harris, they're going to understand how valuable he is. He hasn't announced that he's going to the NFL, but I would be shocked if he comes back to Alabama. I mean, I think this is a guy that I'm pretty sure that is going to head to the NFL. So Najee Harris, he's done enough here at Alabama, and credit to him for doing such a great job at this university, being patient, getting the opportunity to really shine. And he was a guy who certainly continued to trend upward throughout the entire season. Actually scored 7 rushing touchdowns in the last 7 games of the season. Just ended on such a high note. Credit to Najee Harris. This is something that really stood out to me as well. Mike Bernier was a punter, 6 punts, 254 yards, 42.3 average. Where was that all season? I mean, Mike is now gone, right? He's a senior, but where was that all season? He came out and he punted well. Where was Ty Perrine, right? That's Alabama's walk-on punter who had been doing a good job, but then Mike Bernier shows up at the Citrus Bowl, and he looks like a very capable punter. Too bad it was only for 1 game. Now, this is something that I don't agree with. Jalen Waddle, check this out. This is going to trip you out. 2 touches in the Citrus Bowl. 1 reception for 7 yards. 1 punt return for 13 yards. Going forward, Alabama has to figure out, under Steve Sarkisian's offense, how to get Jalen Waddle the football 10 to 15 times per game. I think it's vital that they include Jalen Waddle more so in the offensive game plan. I don't know, come up with some jet sweeps, some screens that are directly designed to him. I don't know, put him in Wildcat. Who knows? You got to get Jalen Waddle the football because this young man is, in my opinion, going into the 2020 season, a Heisman Trophy contender if he can get the football. I know a lot of people talk about Rondale Moore from Purdue. Well, I think Jalen Waddle is better than him. I think Jalen Waddle just needs a football, right? On the defensive side of the football, as I said, we talked about that first half, how Alabama couldn't get Michigan off the football field. In fact, Michigan ran the football 43 times for 190 yards. And the average, check this out, it's only 3.8. There was a couple times where Michigan was gashing them, but for the most part, I mean, holding Michigan under 4 yards per carry, it's not that bad. And like I said earlier, I know people want to make Pete Golden a scapegoat and want to blame him for a ton of defensive troubles that Alabama has faced this year. Well, I mean, Michigan only scored 1 touchdown. They kicked 3 field goals, and they were shut out in the second half. I mean, if Nick Saban was going to make changes, he would have already made them, right? I think he's going to allow Pete Golding to figure out this defense going into spring. You potentially have Dylan Moses coming back. And by the way, did you see that letter that came out from Dylan Moses' lawyer, right? Someone said it was his dad. I haven't had time to check out if that's his father or not. But it said that, they're kind of checking into everything draft-wise and insurance-wise, which makes sense. So I know Dylan tweeted out that he's coming back, but it looks like the Moses Council needs to figure out just exactly what's going to happen going into this 2020 season. However, if Dylan Moses does return, I think Pete Golding can take a big sigh of relief. And this really stood out to me during Pete Golding's press conference during the Citrus Bowl. He said, this season, Shane Lee has had to call the plays. And the guy to verify those plays, to help him check down those plays, is another freshman. Think about this. Going into the 2020 season, if Dylan Moses returns and you got Josh McMillan, who could potentially return. Remember, he's the redshirt senior who got medically cleared for another year. You could have a wealth of knowledge. And now Pete Golding would have almost no excuses for the defense, right? And there shouldn't be any shakeup because you're going to have so many guys at that inside linebacker position. Dylan Moses, Joshua McMillan, Shane Lee, Christian Harris. Those guys will be sophomores, very experienced sophomores. Ali Cajo, Markel Benton, Jalen Moody, right? So many guys at that position. So let's see what transpires over these next couple weeks. Now, Dylan Moses, his lawyer said that he has until January 20th to make that final decision. I'm sure they're going to figure things out. I have a feeling that Dylan Moses will return for this next season. Outside linebackers for Alabama, I wanted to see more out of Chris Allen. I mean, he had 2.5 tackles against Michigan, 1 tackle for loss. I think we need to see more from him, especially with Terrell Lewis exiting, Anthony Jennings exiting. You're going to need guys to get to the quarterback. Who's it going to be in 2020? Is Chris Allen going to be that guy? I think so. And then you're going to have a young gun rise up. King Makuta, Kevin Harris, maybe Chris Boswell, who's an incoming freshman, right? Secondary, I think Xavier McKinney, in my opinion, who had a great day, 7 tackles, he's kind of a tweener for me. I don't know if he's going to go to the NFL. I don't know if he's going to come back. I think he could certainly go to the NFL and, be a 2nd, 3rd round guy. Is he a 1st round guy? I don't know. What do you think? If he comes back, I think next year he's a late 1st round guy. I think Xavier McKinney has a lot of experience, a lot of playmaking ability. He's a great open field tackler. There's a lot of positives on him. Maybe he does go to the draft. I think if he does, some NFL team is going to be happy. Xavier McKinney, very good football player. Alabama's also going to lose Shaheem Carter. I think they'll be able to replace Shaheem Carter, but he's a guy who's a senior. Did everything that Nick Saban wanted him to do. Playmaker, came up with the interception. I like that clip where he runs off the field and throws the football to his mom. I thought that was awesome. Raekwon Davis will leave. I'm just looking at the defensive stats. And I think replacing Raekwon Davis, even though it seemed like it would be hard, I think Christian Barmore is going to just jump right in. And I think he's going to do a great job. I think everybody wants to see more Christian Barmore going forward. Okay, so let's talk about we already talked about a couple guys who increased their draft grade. Let's talk about a couple options for Tua Tagovailoa, and then we'll close it out, and we'll kind of wait for these next announcements to go forward, and then we'll close it on down here on BamaInsider.com. And I hope you guys enjoy the show so far. I appreciate it. Thumbs up, like, and subscribe. This is what I'm hearing for Tua. I think Tua is going to come back for the 2020 season. I certainly do. I don't think he's going to go to the draft. I think, you talk leaving money on the table. He's talked about that many different times. And he will be leaving money on the table if he doesn't go to the draft. But I think he has unfinished business. I think him and a lot of these guys have unfinished business. And that's something that has been the mantra of these juniors. They want to come back, take care of business, keep the dynasty alive, and things how they wanted to put them, right? There was a lot of unfortunate injuries that happened to this team. Things didn't go well. Yeah, I get it. Winning 11 games is a great season, but Nick Saban, he said it best. They're not aiming for 11 wins. They're aiming for the playoffs. They're aiming for the national championship. They're aiming for perfection. And I think Tua's a guy like that. I think Tua is a perfectionist. I think he wants to come back. I think he wants to prove to himself, to his teammates, to the University of Alabama, to the fans, that you can take this team and win a national title. And I think with the amount of talent that Alabama has coming back, I think he can do just that in 2020. Now, my question is, if he does come back, how healthy is he going to be by week 1 against USC? I guess we'll figure all that out. There's no way he plays during the springtime. And it also creates a crowded quarterback room, right? You got Mac Jones, who's been doing a good job at Alabama. I think Nick Saban has a lot of confidence in him. I think the team obviously has a lot of confidence in him. I mean, he just threw for 300 yards in the Citrus Bowl. Looked great. But I think with him being a graduate transfer, Mac Jones is out. You have the talented Bryce Young coming in. You have Talia Tagovailoa. You have Paul Tyson. Those are all guys underneath Tua Tagovailoa. Of course, if Tua is healthy and ready to go, by week 1, he will be the starter. If Mac Jones is not there, who will be the starter? Those are kind of some of the questions that I have coming in. And don't forget that Alabama also plays Georgia early on in the season as well. A lot to cover. And still, tons of news coming your way on BamaInsider.com. Of course, January 6th, that's the day we're all watching. Tua Tagovailoa will make his announcement, whether he's coming back for his senior season or if he will forego his senior season and head to the NFL draft. Hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. We just hit the 30,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. I'm really, really grateful for you subscribing and being a part of the BamaInsider.com family. Hey, I'm back in beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I hope you had a blessed holidays with your loved one, and I hope you have a strong and productive 2020. Be productive, people. I'll catch up with you soon right here on BamaInsider.com.